In WA, the polls are not closed by the time the ABC called the result in favour of the no vote. Reporter Brianna Shepherd is at the official Yes campaign event in Perth. Brianna, what's the mood like there?
Well, clearly it's not the result that those here at the official Yes campaign event in Perth had been hoping for. As you said, the polls in WA had not yet closed by the time the ABC called the referendum result. That actually happened an hour and a half before the 6 o'clock cut-off deadline for voting here in WA, which meant it also happened half an hour before this event started. So even by the time it began, there was certainly a mood of disappointment. I spoke to Labor MP for Perth, Patrick Gorman, who said, while personally disappointed and a tough day for the Yes campaign, he respected the decision of all Australians and said now was the time to start looking at how to close the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians on a number of issues. I also spoke to Jessie Flay, who's a constitutional academic and a Burraloo delegate for the Uluru Statement from the Heart. Now, he said that this campaign was difficult in terms of trying to deal with the amount of misinformation that was out there. As a Noongar man, he said obviously this result is very difficult for himself, but he did say that this was a conversation that was important that Australians have been having, and what he wants is now that that momentum continues moving ahead. Here's a bit of what he said.
We need to start working with the states and territories now. That's our first best option. We need grassroots level change, and we need to empower communities to speak for themselves and determine what it is they need. I've seen that in my research. I've been to Doomadgee in Queensland, I've been to Coobapedy in South Australia, here in Western Australia in Roebourne and Cossack and places like that. People want to change, and they want to be given the power to make their own changes. They're stitched in with options that are not good for them, and they're tired of having everything chosen for them. This voice would have helped make a start, realistically. But the movement that we've built can make an even stronger start into listening, deep listening to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians.
There was also Daniel Morrison-Bird here, who's been one of the leading campaigners for the Yes camp. He stood up a short time ago and addressed the crowd. It was certainly difficult for him to get through his speech. He was very emotional. Obviously, something is happening here right now. But Daniel Bird finished by saying that tonight our hearts may be broken, but they are not beyond repair.
Well, elsewhere in Perth, state political reporter Kian Burke has just left one of the vote counting centres. Kian, what's happening where you are?
We might be able to see just behind me, but votes from a number of different electorates are starting to arrive here to be counted. This is one of 6 voting centres across the state. Staff will be working here throughout the night to work out exactly how Western Australians voted in this referendum. We know that WA was the last state to be called by the ABC. It was called as a no. I believe only one electorate in WA at the moment has been called as a yes at the moment, but we'll start to get a more full picture of exactly what that looks like as these votes start to be counted tonight, and staff have certainly got a very big task ahead of them.
What's the campaign been like in WA?
The campaign was really defined by the controversy around WA's cultural heritage laws. They passed Parliament a number of months ago, a number of years ago, in fact, and the implementation of them was marred by controversy. It was latched onto by the opposition and farming groups who were really vehemently opposed to these laws. And as the controversy grew, the government eventually acted and repealed them, and that was just latched onto even further, I guess, by the No campaign, who locally has certainly used those laws as a key part of their messaging, saying that supporting the Voice, getting that referendum through, would lead to more controversies, more confusion, like we saw with the cultural heritage debacle, even though they are 2 entirely separate issues. And that marked a turning point in the campaign. After that, the leaders of both opposition parties, who had been supporting the Voice up until that point, decided they would vote against it. The Nationals, their party backing them, Liberal leader Libby Mettam making that choice herself, and that really divided the campaign in two. There was before that controversy and after, and what we'll start to see tonight and over the days ahead is exactly how much of an impact that has had on the vote here in WA, whether it did weigh heavily on voters' minds or perhaps whether their attention was directed elsewhere. So still lots more to learn about exactly how things have played out here in WA.
Kean Burke and Brianna Shepherd in Perth, thank you.